This is another reason why it's definitely very important for the home inspection. With
Hmm.
that in mind, especially rehab homes and even the luxury homes. With
Hmm.
the rehab homes, a lot of times.
Welcome back to part two. Thank you, Ron. So we are still staying on home inspection. One of the key areas when it comes to purchasing home, what are some of the areas, in your opinion, do you think new buyers or buyers should actually focus on when they are trying to buy their new home?
And this is one of the things, this is another reason why it's definitely very important for the home inspection. With
Hmm.
that in mind, especially rehab homes and even the luxury homes. With
Hmm.
the rehab homes, a lot of times areas that may have exposed some issues that you could possibly be covered up or moved to another area or some other type of way veiled. So it's always a good idea to ask your inspector, do they have a thermal imaging device? It's not Clark Kent. We can't see directly through the walls, but we can get a better understanding on what's behind that drywall that was just installed last month. Is it moisture back there? Is it anything
Hmm.
that's misshapen back there? What have you to report on? A lot of times in luxury properties as well. We did one out in, I think it was something in the woods. What was the name of that? It was a city all the way in the west suburbs. It's
Okay.
something called Lake in the Woods, I think it is. Lake.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Northwest.
so we did a big property out there, and going through that property was, man, I think there was 2 units outside of the property that were not attached to the main building,
Oh,
but one of
really?
them like a big shed type of building or what have you, and another one was I think like a coach house or something like that. However,
Okay.
we couldn't get access to those, and we had a hard time getting that. We got a chance to get access to the garage that was attached, but we had
Hmm.
to get a hold of the owner's wife to come and open up the unattached garage. They had an unattached garage. An unattached
Okay.
garage was locked. And a couple other things that we got a chance to get into. But those are some of the main things that we run into. Is like we need access to everything here when we come out to do the inspection. Yeah, those are
Okay.
some key areas that buyers should focus on.
Yeah, I can relate. I've had a couple of instances like that. So, how about picking a home inspector? What are some of the things that buyers and even sellers should look out for? Because we agents, of course, we are going to recommend home inspectors that we've worked with in the past, but by law, we need to make more than one recommendation. So, for
Yes.
my viewers, what should be some of the questions they should be asking when selecting inspector?
So they should be asking them maybe how many years
Okay.
have they been home inspect? Have they had their license?
Okay.
Maybe how many inspections have they done in their history of licensing?
Okay.
They also may want to ask them, are they a member with InterNACHI or ASHI, which are the two governing inspection entities across the
Okay.
nation? And what
Okay.
other type of, there's a commercial entity, I think it's CCPIA. It is
Okay.
CCPIA. I recently became a member of that almost a year ago. And things like that. Ask them what type of affiliations do they have, and also something that look for but not ask is what I've noticed, and I'm giving you my opinion on this. Test for their
Hmm.
rudeness, and what I've noticed is inspectors that are more rude tend to be less effective or less efficient. And one of the reasons of their rudeness is a deflection, so they can
Yeah.
just do anything and get out of there. Get away from me, let me do my job, type of thing. And so they can do
Hmm.
it and they get out of there. Don't you want to avoid any inspector like that? An inspector should be most inspectors that I've come across and dealt with that does a great job. They
Hmm.
tend to be helpful and noteworthy for their thoroughness and showing you, hey, look, and explaining things to you. And they might not explain in too much detail because
Right.
you'll get it in a report. So we don't, and inspectors sometimes may change their opinion of what they thought they viewed when they get back home and they sit down with a different mindset, the same way a writer might change a whole paragraph when they're writing a book. But
Right.
you want to allow them to do what they need to do and get a feel for their personal character as well. So I would say not only questions, ask those questions, but also pay attention to the person that's going to be helping you make one of the decisions for the biggest investments that you are probably making in your life.
Okay. That makes sense. You going back to part one, you did talked a little bit about the different types of inspection, right?
Mhm.
Pertaining to investors, what other items should they expect or should they look out for when it comes to home inspection?
So I would say the main things, of course, that they should pay attention to is the plumbing and the electrical, without a doubt. Take a look at the roof, but depending on the property, you probably intend on replacing that roof anyway. But
Right.
you do still want the inspector to look that roof over to see, can you patch it up? If you can patch it up and you can save $7, 8, 9, $10,000, why would you not?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? So you definitely want that thoroughly looked over. That plumbing, the electrical, and the basement, of course, and that's why we throw the basement and the attic and the roof in there, is because you want to make sure that they know what's going on with the flooring in the basement. And heating and cooling, pay close attention to that. And even reverting back to the basement again with the water, a lot of times, even with properties for investors, they go into the property, they look things over, they say, hey, it's great. And then it rains and they didn't
Yep.
see that stuff. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And
Yep.
so we are going to test with moisture detectors and things like that while it's dry or what have you. And that's one of the things that you want us to do, because you might have a contractor to come in there and look it over, like I just said, take a look at it while it's dry, and hey, everything's fine. But if they had had additional inspection skills, they probably would have used a moisture detector on the
Right.
bottoms of the wall throughout the basement. They probably would have took an infrared detect machine and took a look in a couple different places around the basement through the wall,
Mm-hmm.
just to see if there's anything that looks like there's some hidden water somewhere, because water
Okay.
can hide and water can find its way through anything.
Yep.
So
Yep. Let's stay on the basement for a second. And we are still talking about preservation of our assets,
wait,
right?
what's that? Say that again. It went on a bit. There you go.
Sorry about that. I want us to stay on the basement and focusing on maintaining the value of the property, right? You did touch on water in the basement. How about cracks, right? And I'm bringing this from experience. One of my clients, we was so interested in this home, I had to discourage her from even making an offer because of what
Oh,
I saw in the basement due to the cracks, right? Often enough, some agents will tell you, oh, this is nothing, right? It's been addressed, right? So for a homeowner, what should be some of the things they need to look out for, especially foundation issues,
mhm.
before they even consider putting it on the market or even getting somebody to come and do inspection? What should they look out for foundation?
So they should look out for any continuous
Okay.
lengthy cracks. Now you may find maybe a slight movement somewhere or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The home settles, but you're looking for a long crack, and you're looking for that inside of the basement that's unfinished with the
Okay.
infrared system. You're looking for it behind that
Okay.
drywall. And so that's one of the things that when we're looking through with the thermal imager, it's pretty much consistent area that we're looking at until or unless we come across a crack or uneven surface along the
Okay.
foundation in the basement. We're also looking for to see, is there any moss or is there any type of growth or what have you in there, mold or what have you in there as well. And unless it is active moisture that's coming through there. And so a few different things like that is what we're going to be looking for to make sure that the structural integrity is good. Now, if we see that it appears to be a structural integrity issue, that's
Mm-hmm.
when we're going to step to the side a little bit, and we are going to recommend that a structural engineer, we're going to put that within the report and recommend that you have a structural engineer come out to do a
Okay.
further investigation, because we're not foundation specialists. We're
Right.
general inspection specialists. So we do a general inspection, and things that we notice that need more attention, then
Mm-hmm.
we'll point you in that direction to a
Okay.
professional that can let you know more information about that.
When it comes to roofing, I do understand, depending on the property type, it may be difficult to do a visual inspection. Let's say, for instance, a ranch style home or a single family home that they can see the roofing. What are some of the ways to do the visual inspection to make sure that, oh, the roofing is in good condition?
So we pretty much bring a drone out with us on every inspection, and it's just an addition. unless we have no other way, viable means to access the roof,
Hmm.
then it's the primary. But
Okay.
we usually do a combination of walking the roof and a drone. The first primary desire is that our inspector walk the roof.
Okay.
However, there are some areas that the walking the roof may not turn up. For
Okay.
instance, especially on a single family home, majority of them, the chimney is going to be taller than the inspector on
Yeah.
the roof. And
Yeah.
so they can take a glimpse at it from the side, and they can see if the rain cap is on there or if the flashing is correct and adequate around the bottom. But they won't be able to see inside to see if there's any clogging, see if the flue lining is intact,
Hmm.
if the flue lining is even in there, if there's a flue lining, if the flue lining is cracked up, what the integrity of it is, and some different things like that. Also, look inside the vents coming up from out of the bathroom or out of different areas within the house that's providing venting. And on multi-unit properties, we get a chance to see not only just the roof with the drone, but we also get a chance to see the top one, two, or three levels of that property outside of the bottom level as well,
Okay.
all around the exterior of the property. So those are two. We also use what we call an eye stick. One of my inspectors has that, and other inspectors tend to use these as well. They like extended mirror poles. And
Okay.
so they go around to the top unit of the property and they try to get their body out as far as they can. And they reach up. They usually extend about maybe 11 to 15 feet or something like that. I don't care those. I'm not a big fan of those at all because the sight that you get to see with them and the images that you
Hmm.
get, they have different things that stops it from shaking or what have you. But it doesn't come out like walking the roof of the drone. All my
Okay.
experiences, walking the roof and a drone are the best
Okay.
options to take a look at the roof.
So let's say, for instance, with my current home, since I'm trying to preserve the value, right? And I know roofing is one of the biggest expense items, right, of a home. What are some of the things that you will recommend I look out for on a daily basis as when it comes to roofing, the gutters and stuff like that? Just visual look, because of course I'm probably going to sell this house someday. I
Mhm.
don't want it to get to the point where I'm listing the house to find out that maybe there might be an issue with the roofing. So, what are some of the things that you would recommend the homeowner should look out for or should
Mhm.
be paying attention to when it comes to the roof?
So you mentioned one of the main things, of course, is the gutter, but not only not only the gutter by itself, but
Hmm.
the gutter in conjunction with the downspouts.
Okay.
So I've dealt with properties that have multi levels to the roof, and you're talking about 6 or 7 different multi levels to this big
Hmm.
house, and the downspouts have to be adequate in each area from the level
Okay.
transitioning down to the next level. And if not, then you get sitting water, you get still water, or you get too much water production in one spot. So you definitely want to pay attention to that. Like myself, I think I got 1, 2, 3, 4 different levels in different areas on the roof of my house. And depending on whether I leave out the front or go out in the backyard or what have you, I always glance up at the roof. I always just take a look and just look around my
Hmm.
property, admire it. That's one. And also, you to begin with, something else to look for in the roof is the layers of the shingles. You don't want more than 2 layers. 3 layers is maximum,
Okay.
and that roof needs to be ripped up and all the shingles need to be replaced. That's something you want to look at for. And like what you said earlier, dealing with any type of trees or bushes or any other type of debris that can periodically fall and drop on your roof, especially living debris, like
Okay.
leaves, they'll deteriorate that portion of your roof 10 times faster than what it would
I
normally
see.
deteriorate from those leaves and debris falling onto that roof. So those
Okay.
are some simple things you could pay attention to preserve that roof as
Okay.
best as possible.
How about HVAC system?
As far as preserving it,
Yes.
so the HVAC system, you want to periodically get the what is it called? I forget the exact name of it, but they come to duct cleaning. So they clean out the duct. You do. I don't know if people were scared to, but people seem like they're intimidated by getting the the AC condenser wet. Rinse that AC condenser off. It's fine. It sits in the
Okay.
rain. It sits outside. It's rained on. It's okay. but it does need to be periodically sprayed and washed off. If you
Okay.
don't a whole lot, you'll come up to it and you'll see, just like you see on the ceiling fans,
Hmm.
depending on whose house you're in, the little dust crud that's on the
Right.
ceiling fans,
Yep.
you'll
Yep.
find that within the fins of the AC condenser, which is
Okay.
lowering the capacity of the AC condenser to provide AC for your home. And the furnace, you want to vacuum it out periodically. You want to go open up that case, check for rust, debris, and stuff like that, which is normal. But if you can, you know what you're doing, vacuum it out. If you don't, just have it cleaned out each year or at least
Okay.
every other year, and that preserves the value in it.
And also, how about even changing or replacing the filters when it comes to the furnace?
So the
I know
filters,
there.
I recommend they now have filters that you just pull out probably like biannually or triquarterly and rinse it
Okay.
off and put it back in.
Oh,
They
really?
also have,
Okay.
yeah, I have one. Yep, they're high efficiency filters, and there's no
Okay.
need to ever replace it. You buy one, and that's it.
I
Other than
see.
that, you might want to buy a filter
Okay.
biannually at the most. I wouldn't
Okay.
go longer than biannually without
Okay.
replacing that filter in the
Okay.
Oh, and another thing about the furnace too is, and it preserves your house as well. Make sure if it's not already installed, get a humidifier installed onto your furnace. A lot of the homes nowadays have the humidifiers, but if not, get you a humidifier. It'll help expand the life of the furnace by
Okay.
keeping it moist and not as much dry in that area, and also
Mm-hmm.
help your family and your household a whole lot too.
Nice. You did touch on one important component, which I think most homeowners either doesn't know or they neglect or they overlook, right? And that is duct cleaning. To do it myself, right? And I guess especially for individuals that have children in their homes and they have ducts, right? And the duct work, if it's on the floor, right, they are more likely to drop stuff in there. And so duct cleaning, in my opinion, I think is also very important. But how often though should someone be cleaning their duct? Is it every year or every other year or every 6 months?
I would say annually,
Okay.
biannually maximum. It would not
Okay.
hurt to do it I'm sorry, biannually would not hurt, and annually
Okay.
is what's suggested. Because
Okay.
not only the toys and things dropped in there, but the dust for people that may be asthmatic, people that might have chronic breathing issues and stuff like that. The things that are going through the venting system are not going to be conducive to their good health. And
Mm-hmm.
also, in addition to it, in that mid season of winter to spring and to winter, there's a period in there that we typically don't use our venting system that much
True.
unless you
Yeah.
use just the fan by itself. And in that period, depending on what's been going through those vents or that ductwork, mold could grow in there as well. And if that
Oh,
mold grows
really?
in there, when
Okay.
you turn that system back on, it's coming right back into your house, and you're wondering why are you sneezing and coughing and rubbing your eyes and everything, because you're
Right.
breathing in stuff that your vents are cleaning out right now.
All right. Okay. Interesting. So I just thought of something. We've talked about why it makes sense to do home inspection before you list your home, why it makes sense to do home inspection before you purchase a new home. After you purchase a new home, does it make sense to also do inspection on your home whilst you own it, not necessarily to put it on the market? And how often should you do that?
Annually is what the
Okay.
suggestion is. I've got a few companies and a few persons, less persons than companies,
Okay.
excuse me, that are scheduled with me annually. Once
See.
they finish, they say, put me on the books for next year now. So I've got, if I go inside my books, I'll be able to see, I think, 3 commercial properties and 2 residentials. Not a whole lot. It's
Okay.
recommended, and it's a good thing to do because now you know what you're facing before it
Hmm.
gets there. So I'm spending this $300, $400, $500 for a residence. Who knows, 1,500 or whatever for the commercial building or whatever it might be. And that's for a doctor's office we do out on Northwest Highway in the west suburbs. But it's definitely good to have that done so you know what you're facing. There's another thing that's provided with each one of our inspections. I know there's some other inspection companies that provide perks too, But we have a program called Homebinder.
Okay.
Homebinder.com. I pay for it annually. It goes out to all of my clients. I'm sure you probably saw the email. I don't know if your clients took advantage of it, but they can develop a online account with it. This is an absolutely no cost to them. They can store their report in there. But the
Okay.
great thing about it is that they get those maintenance tips. You ask me when should they do what? The maintenance tips comes out on a periodic basis throughout the duration of their home ownership.
Nice.
That tells them exactly when they should be checking the fire detectors and changing those
Okay.
batteries. Once every year in October, I think that's what it's supposed to be. But you'll get those different maintenance tips and reminders as well.
One more question, I guess, following up with what you just said. I know often enough, older homes sometimes, especially for those of us that lives in Chicago or colder areas, right? We need to prep our homes before the winter. One, to preserve energy. What are some of the things that homeowners should do or could do, not just to preserve energy, but also to protect the entire property, especially during the winter months?
Yep. So one of the number one things that you want to do is go take all of your garden hoses and disconnect
Okay.
them from the outside spigots. Remove
Okay.
those garden hoses. Make sure you get all the water out of the spigot. You probably want to make sure you get it all out of the hose too, because it's going to freeze up somewhere wherever you
Right.
got it, unless you
Right.
bring it into the house. Take that
Mhm.
off of there. You might want to rinse your patio with a mild antifreeze solution or something like that once it gets begins to get real cold out. And other
Okay.
areas that won't be salted down.
Okay.
You definitely probably want to use weather stripping, seal your doors, make sure your doors are sealed with the weather stripping. I'm not a fan of the plastic. I know you've heard the plastic. That's old. Just make
Yeah.
sure you got up to date windows. Invest in the extra money. It's your house, is yours. Extra, get the windows redone.
Right.
But things like that is if there's a property, of course, that you're not living in, that's a rental property, investment property, and you're
Hmm.
going to have it set up for the winter. Make sure you put antifreeze in those toilets and within that plumbing, and get some inside the sink, P
Okay.
traps and things like that before the winter,
Okay.
and leave that stuff in there as well.
Cool. Thank you so much, Ron. Is there anything else you would like to add for my listeners and my viewers?
Just the process of purchasing a property, it's a long process until you get to the review period in the home inspection. Right
Yeah.
then, at that point, everything starts going fast.
Yeah.
Don't be rushed through that home inspection, that review period, because at the
Okay.
end of that's the most important middle part of your decision making process. Everything
Yep.
else was all exciting and having fun and
Yep.
stuff, and you're wondering when this gonna happen and when we gonna get this, when we win on this email, when is it gonna come through, and then the contract come through and everything's like boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
Just be careful, pay close attention, and make sure you get your AmeriSpec.
Thank you so much. And I know you have your contact information in your background, but if my viewers or my listeners wants to get in touch with you or your company, how would they be able to reach out to you or get a hold of you?
So they can reach me on the office line, which I have a call center. They'll answer that number right there, 708-495-4372. My direct line is 700-8925. Email address, rrobins at
Okay.
AmeriSpec.net. And website is www.xperispec.com.
Thank you. And are you also on social media?
Yes, I am. You can find me on, you can find AmeriSpec on social media. If you Google my name, you'll find plenty of contact information, reviews,
Okay.
and quite a bit of other information about myself and the company. Please look us through and call us up for even questions that you might have, not just for inspections. I've been in the real estate field for quite some time now, and quite a bit in different areas. And I know quite a few different people to direct you to as well. So if you need any extra assistance beyond Mr. Patrick Afrifa, give me a call too, and we'll help you through the process. That's what we're here
Yeah.
for.
Thank you so much, Ron. I really appreciate your time and all the knowledge that you shared with us
Yep.
today. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me.